Okay, personal administration. And for personal administration, let me just add SAP screen and /n. Oh, it's gone. Okay, let's start with the presentation first. Integration points, personal administration, recruitment, personal development, training and event management workflow, compensation management, personal cost planning, shift planning, capacity planning, FICO, managed desktop. What does this all mean? It actually means that these are the areas that will be covered in HCM, and that will include operational, technical, configuration side of all of these areas. Okay. Recruitment, yes, you have to have a roadmap, a plan that will be put in place in SAP, and that will be driven by units, by departments, and recruitment for every department will differ. Now, companies working in shift rotation, 24-hour rotation will have a very different segment of recruitment, while people working in a different industry like manufacturing or service industry or outsource industry will have a very different recruitment roadmap altogether. So recruitment, of course, you will need uh, a complete, mature outline, and of course, deep down processes. Speaking of workflows is basically connecting the process in a stepwise manner. If this process is satisfied, what will be the next one? So stepwise execution of process, and it can be different based on department to department, process to process. Integration with HCM will depend on the workflow and the steps that you will have to follow. Again, every unit will have its own workflow. It's not necessary that workflows will get replicated. Okay. Compensation. It will differ from level to level, department, not department to department, but unit to unit organization. Factory compensation will be different, and an office's compensation will be different that from the contractual employees. The admin staff will have a different compensation plan, and the management, the CEOs will have a very altogether different compensation plan. Capacity planning, if we talk about that, capacities, of course, you have to plan capacities for certain positions. Like construction industry will need 100 or 1,000 people for a project, and that will be part of the HCM manager's portfolio, because if a new project is coming, they will know when is the 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 inauguration and the kickoff of that project. If it's like 3 weeks, in 3 weeks, you need to have shifts to be aligned, executed, arranged, and the workforce to be there. And that has to be documented. This is what HCM, this is where the role of the HCM becomes very unique and acute. So what we're going to cover is master data overview, company structure, zone for types, personal actions, features, and integration. This will actually give you an understanding what is basically master data. Okay. So master data, in effect, is about people, the organizational units, the structure around the employees and the departments that comprises master records. Like for an employee, there will be organizational assignment, like personal development. Address will be used to address and tax will be used for payroll, because if your address is of another state and tax is paid in another state, payroll will differ. The payroll this employee will be eligible for will be different because of the state addresses. Okay. Family will family details will actually impact your recruitments. You cannot send a person on a 28-day rotation if he has a family, or you cannot send this employee on a remote assignment if his family is not accompanying him. And some employees will prefer staying with the family. So recruitment structures will differ based on family details. Work schedule. And work schedule again, some companies are working on a 24-hour rotation. Work schedule will depend on that. So everything, every detail that you get will determine how you will want to execute uh, master data in what sense based on the units. So the master data actually impacts how employees will be treated. So in a factory, the master data will be different. An employee at a corporate office will have a different approach. The timings, the reporting times, the salaries, the slabs will be different than that of the factories. Okay. So, speaking of personal actions, let's come down and look at the master data. Just having an overview so that we can get an idea what we're talking about. Let me just share that um, with you. And so personal actions basically will carry all the master data details. PA30 is the T code. So until it actually opens up. Okay, now we have personnel number 200. And the info types are basically the heart and soul of HCM. If you talk about actions over here, display. Now, info types will have, there are many info types in SAP, in n number of info types. And info types basically define the entire outline of HCM. Okay. Now, action type is basically what is the action being taken on this employee and what is the start date, what is the end date, okay, and when the change was impacted, because change can be, it can change from hiring to probation to firing or shift. Okay. So in action, we are taking an action, and through which personnel area? Best way Islamabad. Employee group is active, not retiree, and employee subgroup is salaried, not contract. That is action. Okay. We'll be configuring this, of course, in the later chapters. Personal actions. There are many info types that we'll be looking at. Let's see what is this display organizational assignment. So company code is best way, personal area is best way Islamabad, sub area is best way office. Okay, so personal area is a geographical area, and the sub area exists in personal area, and that is your best way office. So employee group is active, employee subgroup salary. Under active, there are salaried and contract both. And position is marketing manager. Organizational unit is marketing department. Group is, of course, this is payroll group. Organization 3 is BSIS. Okay. So that's how you actually configure your info types and fill it with master. This comprises of master data. Okay. HR structures describe HR structures. They describe elements of an enterprise structure and personal structure. They create personal area, personal sub area. Personal area is physical area, place. Personal sub area is area that exists within personal, that like corporate office or the factory. Employee groups can be active, retiree, early retiree, and employee subgroups will be salaried and contract. So these are basically how you actually define your entire structure, enterprise structure. And groupings is basically, again, the concept where you can group some people as per their taxation slab, their salary slab, their scheduling slab. Okay. Structures. Now, enterprise, if you talk about like personal area. Now, these are personal areas. Okay. And the structures are divided into at enterprise level and personal level. Now, at personal, the personal can be active and retiree, and of course, some other categories as well. But structures are basically driven by these two structures. Okay. So, speaking of SAP, our structure starts from client. Okay, the client is customer. And then we have a company code. A company code is a unit that can have its own financial statements, like a company, which can publish its financial statements, which has its operations, which has departments. The departments and their presence in various areas is personal area, and those departments are personal sub areas. Those sub areas can be factory, can be marketing, can be depending on your customer's requirement. Enterprise structure and personal structure. Okay. In administrative structures, of course, you define how you want to segment the employees. Those can be factory workers or engineers, and the other can be management side or people from the departments. Okay, of course, administrative will have to oversee their payment plans. An organizational unit, of course, as we have seen, there is a job, which is a job description, and position, which is occupied by a person. So organizational units will have positions and jobs. So job actually describes how the position will be executed. Employee groups are basically segments of employees, how you can separate them and manage them. So broadly, they can be many, but for understanding's sake, we have active, premature retiree, and retiree. Okay. Personnel structure, employee subgroups. Now, under employee groups, we have under employee groups, we had active, retiree, early retiree. Under active, we have employee subgroups, press, journalist, permanent, clerical, and there are more segments in active. Okay, because they are under the segment of active. Payroll area. Now, payroll area is coming in under personal structure, where payroll area can be different. Some workers will be paid on 10th, like rotation workers. Employees at the corporate office will be paid on 28th. So 28 will have a separate payroll area. Workers getting paid on 10th will have a separate payroll area. Okay. Organizational structure. The organizational structures, we have units as we have defined earlier. Executive offices, personal sub area, and then we have HR departments. Okay. Personal areas is basically your physical area, then comes personal sub areas, and then comes our departments, and then jobs and positions. Okay. By business, so organizational units describe a company's distinct units. Okay. By department, by geographical region, or by business process. Jobs, they are performed. These are details of the positions that are occupied by people, general classifications of positions. So jobs basically define positions. Okay. And we've seen over here in organizational assignment, there's an enterprise structure like company code, personal area. Then we have a personal structure like active group, retiree group. Okay. And of course, we have subgroups as well. Okay. What is subgroups? Of course, that is a segment of the employees like clerical, permanent, junior staff, senior staff, like that. An organizational structure. Okay, organizational structure which actually aligns and outlines positions and jobs. Groupings. Now, groupings, as I told you, some employees will be paid on 10th, some employees will be paid on 30th. So we will need some groupings. Employee subgroups, personnel sub areas grouping. And based on that, of course, we will separate some areas of our employees. Personal sub area. The personal sub area is basically your physical area within a personal. Personal area is your city or place. And personal sub area will be your factory or your office. Okay. And every personal sub area will have their own wage types. Wage types can be daily wages or bi-weekly. Okay. And basic pays will actually have slabs. What are the basic pays starting from? And public holidays will be different for factories from the offices. Okay, and the time management will be rotation based. Okay. Okay. Employee subgroup. Now, employee subgroups basically again. Employee. We have already seen employee groups. Employee subgroup. Employee group is active. Employee subgroups are clerical or active. Okay. So employee subgroup is basically one area. For example, permanent employee or contract employee or clerical or engineer. They will have their own work schedules. And scale groups will have, of course, their uh, their pay rates will be different. And wage types like salary or contract or daily wages or bi-weekly or 6 months or 40 days, that is basically driven by subgroups. So everything is segmented. And when will be the payroll run? That is also a part of this area. Info types. Info types are basically the heart and mind of HCM. It contains info types are basically everything about HCM. It can be master data is an info type. Okay. Actions that is being taken is also an info type. Okay. So there are four primary master data info types: actions, organizational assignment, personal data, payroll status. The above info types are essential if personal number is to exist in the system. Okay. So the info type will have the personal number in order to be effective will have these info types: action, assignment, personal data, and payroll status. So, and we will actually group it into one so that we can have a personal number issued to the employee. Okay. And we have already seen menus, menus. Okay. These are the menus basically. If you look into personal data, display. Okay. And we have details over here. Status indicators. Now, status basically will show you what is basically the employee standing at, whether he's active, he's not active, he is hired or in the process of hiring and so on. Okay, that is status. So we have some status indicators, and that is withdrawn, retiree, active, inactive. Some can be customer specific as well. Organizational assignment, like company code, personal area, employee group active, employee subgroup, like clerical, permanent, like that. Okay. Payroll area, which is of course separate. And these are organizational assignment. Personal data, names, first name, last name, nickname. Okay. and date of birth, place of birth, and marital status. These are basically personal data. Payroll status, when it is going to start, okay, when was this brought into effect, okay, and what will be the payroll running date, personal area is this, employee subgroup is this, okay, and that basically is accounted for. Info types, time constraint 1, 2, and 3. So time constraint 1, it has no gaps, no overlaps. It's like your educational background. Okay, your age can have no gaps, yeah. Time constraint 2, record may have gaps, record has no overlap. This can be your educational background or your projects that you have done, okay, or any training that you have done, which was in stepwise progression. Time constraint 3, record may have gaps, multiple records may exist. This is like managing that you had a role where you are a project manager for 3 projects. So there will be gaps and multiple records will overlap. So time constraints can be divided into 3. Then we have info type, address 06, bank details 09, basic pay 08. So we have many info types. Okay. So personal actions, this is basically sequential processing of info types. Info types that can be address, actions, personal data, payroll data. These are basically aligned. It shows recording of all required data and it keeps your data entry efficient. Okay. And that's how you basically manage your info types using actions. Okay. I hope that is clear to you.
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Now, then we have some internal tables and reports that will activate additional actions info type, and we'll look into the next lectures, of course. Then we have dynamic actions, contract elements, monitoring of dates. Um, uh, Date-wise, of course, execution of job roles and positions can keep changing because some people were managers or ad hoc managers for some projects, and then they were brought back to the management office. Those are basically contract elements, okay? Or some engineer left and they had to be replaced by someone from the office to report at the construction site. So those are basically dynamic info types that we have to cater to, okay? What is the feature? Feature objects within personal actions that determine automatic default values and help to control system by querying different company personal or data structure fields determine a specific value. Okay. Basically, features basically are outlines of uh, a certain person, okay, and that are associated with a certain set of persona. Okay. I mean, like an engineer will be required to be a bachelor in engineering with 3 years of experience. I mean, that is a feature that will fit that person. So the integrations, of course, with that very person will be carried out at the payroll level, organizational unit level, recruitment level, personal development level, training, and even more. These are the areas that will be part of the actions and info types of that person. I hope